Good. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's say hi for a minute. Listen, today's scope, we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, something I'm very excited and passionate about to share, and it's on the topic of being an introvert. And my personal belief that introverts, who if you actually look the definition up in the dictionary, is labeled as shy, awkward recluse. And I'm here to change that definition for all of you, whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, because I firmly believe that introverts have some very super secret hidden powers. So secret, in fact, that I've written them out. I've taken the time to actually write them out on a board for you. So how about that? Introverts do it better. So here's the first thing. I am probably going to piss off some extroverts. So you guys can either leave or share all your comments, but some of the things I'm going to say are going to make it feel like one is better than the other or that extroverts are wrong. And that's not really my intention at all, but rather just to empower introverts because most importantly, for starters, I'm one. Okay, so let's go ahead and say hello for a second, see how you guys are doing. See who we got in here, and then we'll go ahead and get into it. Screw introverts. You can't. Yeah, exactly. David's like, you cannot give our secrets away. I know, and I have to expose it. So, okay, fantastic. I'm an introvert, says Chris, and it makes me so upset sometimes. So here's the deal. I'm an introvert, and I friggin' love it, and I hope by the end of this scope that you will too. Introverts need to be there for extroverts need to be there so introverts can exist. Exactly. So Diane said I was one, now I'm the other. Is that possible? And I'd like to talk about that because I believe there is two theories on that, two schools of thought. Can you switch from an introvert to an extrovert or an extrovert to the introvert? And I believe in a school of thought that says no, that it's like if you're born right-handed, you're always right-handed. You just learn to develop your left hand a little bit more, okay? So, an outgoing introvert, yeah, exactly. So, what I'd love for you guys to do, we're going to talk about the 7 secret superpowers of introverts. I've built a personal brand business myself, and I'm an introvert. And I'd like to share with you guys some of the stuff I've done, okay? To kind of come out of my shell in a way that's works for me, right? So I'd love for you guys to share this with your followers. I feel like this is something that's extremely valuable. It's talked about a little bit. I feel like introvert has become kind of cool and trendy in the last couple of years. There's been TED Talks and books about it and stuff like that. Quiet is one book that comes to mind. There's a couple others like The Introvert Advantage. So I'd love for you guys to swipe and share. I think this is going to be some valuable information. Let's go ahead and get into it. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. So my name is James Wedmore, and I've built a personal brand business where I have to be in front of the camera. So before Periscope days, I was making videos that were not live. And we're going on 8 years now. I built a 7-figure business around myself as the expert and authority. And yes, I'm an introvert. So what does an introvert mean? I think first and foremost, there are a lot of misconceptions about what people think an introvert really means. I know extroverts who are shy of the camera. They're shy of going on stage. That doesn't make them an introvert. The definition in Webster's dictionary of an introvert is shy, awkward, recluse. That is not what an introvert means. The term introvert is actually, and we're not going to get too techie into this, even though our introvert friends will really like that. That's a clue into one of your superpowers. Really comes from Carl Jung, and which later got developed into a personality indicator test called Myers-Briggs. And basically, introvertism described a temperament, not who someone is as a person. So I want to start by saying that if you feel like you are an introvert, and if you feel like you're an extrovert, or you feel you've been labeled like one, well, we actually have introverted functions as well as extroverted functions as well. So there are times when you feel like, normally I don't like being around people, but when I start talking about something I'm passionate about, I get really loud and excited. Guess what? That's me. I'm an introvert, but if I start talking about stuff like this, I can be as loud and obnoxious as any extrovert out there, right? So we have introverted and extroverted tendencies. Just like if you're right-handed, it doesn't mean you can't use your left hand. Okay, you use both, and you can choose to use more of your left hand, right? You can choose to write with your left hand. It would be hard at first, but you could get better and better at it. Does that make sense? So introversion is a tendency based on a function. So we got some posts we're going to get into. Okay, so let's talk about the 7 superpowers of introverts. Because this is the reason this is so near and dear to me is because if I went back in time to who I was in high school, like I like to joke around and say, if you were to ask anybody that I went to high school with and you said, hey, you went to high school with James, what was he like? They would all look at you and say, who? And I went to a school with like a graduating class of like 100 students. I was very shy, very quiet, and I remember like the first day of school in like college, like first day of classes, the professor would say, okay, we had small classes in college, stand up, introduce yourself, and share something about like favorite color, where are you from? I would go nuts. I was so nervous just to stand up and say my name. And I would rehearse it in my brain over and over and over again. I was so scared. And to see where I've come personally and professionally, I really feel that it comes down to me first embracing who I am as an introvert and realizing that I have a lot of strengths that I wasn't taking advantage of. Introverts are a minority. There are more extroverts than there are introverts. Okay? So yeah, now I'm giving speeches in front of 500 or 600 people, cracking jokes, right? So embrace the introversion is step 1, and then flex that muscle of your strengths. So let's look at those strengths, those superpowers. Are you guys ready? I wrote these down. So let me bring this up a little bit. There we go. Number 1, superpower for introverts. Introverts are incredible listeners. Do you guys agree? Now, if an introvert isn't talking as much, if they're labeled as shy, that means they have more of an opportunity to listen. And you know what they say, like God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, we should be, what is it? We should be doing that ratio of it, or however it goes, right? But here's the thing, when you are a great listener, you have the opportunity to be a great communicator. Because I personally believe that 99% of communication is in the listening. And most people aren't listening. They're just talking. And introverts can be really, really good listeners. If you're an introvert, I want you to embrace that. Okay? Quick to listen, slow to speak. I love it. Yeah, well, you know what? For whoever wrote, because we're deep thinkers, that's actually one of the other strengths, so we'll get to that. Awesome. Emotionally intelligent, too. I love it. You guys, wait, this guy said, then stop talking. I don't know if you're talking to me. Are you? Let me know. I'd love to know. So that's the first one, being a great listener. Right? Okay, let's look at introvert strength number 2. If I can take these off. Introverts can be extremely self-aware. Have you ever noticed that? They're very sensitive to the world around them. Now, of course, our strengths can become some of our biggest weaknesses. But if you use self-awareness as a strength, you can realize in a group setting when someone doesn't feel like they're fitting in, someone feels uncomfortable. Have you ever experienced a conversation when someone is talking and the person listening is like, I want to leave or whatever? Introverts can pick up on that a lot easier. They're aware of their surroundings. They're aware of themselves. Someone said it earlier, they're emotionally intelligent. They're very aware of their emotions. You guys get that? Good. So that's number 2. We got a few more. Empathetic, yeah. What's a HSP introvert? What does that mean? All right, let's look at number 3. I'm going to have to tilt the camera down. Boop. Here we go. Hey, what's up, Jago? Glad you want to hang out with me. Number 3, introverts are intuitive. Now, what does that mean by intuitive? Intuitive actually has a couple definitions. Carl Jung used it differently when he talked about the concept of intuition. Some people just say intuition is like having ideas, tapping into a collective consciousness. But really, it's about having the ability to go within, to go inside, to get insight, answers, find peace, find joy and happiness. Is that an introvert doesn't need all the external things of the world to make them happy, fulfilled, or even just get the answer to a question that they have. Do you guys get that? If you need more clarification on that, let me know, but I want to keep going with these. So far to recap, my friend, my fellow introverts out there, hashtag INTJ, we're looking at the strengths of being an introvert, the superpowers. They're great listeners, they're extremely self-aware and aware of their surroundings, and they can be very intuitive. Let's look at number 4. I gotta see how I'm gonna stay in the frame and do this at the same time. All right, number 4. Oh, okay, now, I say the word deep, and I just want to be like, oh, that's deep, like emotionally deep or whatever. What I'm talking about this is that when it comes to something like a topic or a subject or even just a conversation, introverts tend to go very deep on the topic. You can see this with an extrovert. If you have a conversation with them and you're like, how's everything going? They want to tell you just the like cliff notes of like, here's this area of my life, this area of my life, this area of my life, and this area of my life. Well, if you got 2 introverts together, they'll talk about that one area for an hour. Okay? They will go back and forth about one topic and take it to a level of depth, insight, and just comprehensiveness that most extroverts don't. And you can watch this with your extrovert friends. If you want to know if your friends are extroverts, they usually talk louder and they talk faster. Even though I'm talking kind of loud and kind of fast, I promise you I am an introvert. I'm not an imposter trying to be one or the other. So that's something I've always loved. You know, that's really what I've loved, is that when I get my hands on a new idea, a new concept, a new book, a new topic in life, I want to learn everything about it. Don't you want to just dive in and let's just talk about internet marketing was something that when I first discovered, oh my gosh, people are starting business on the internet. I wanted to learn everything about everything. And I just became obsessed with it. And that's what a lot of introverts love to do, okay? Dive deep on topics, on conversations, etc. Now I'm going to try and move this back a little bit so you guys still see it and see me. So that'll help, but I gotta like bend down here. Let's talk about number 5. Now I actually have one of my team members in the room who happens to be, let's see if I can bring it over. He's working over in the corner. Boop boop.
Yo.
That's Michael. He's an INFJ. So he's also an introvert. Oh my gosh. How do I do this so I can... Hold on, guys. So it's kind of far away at this point. So he's also an introvert, and I wanted to ask him, like, what do you feel like some of your strengths are? And he helped me come up with this one. Okay. I wrote down ideas and conceptual. Introverts can be very cerebral, very, very conceptual. If you look at like an extrovert, here's the analogy I like to use. Extroverts are really good connectors. They're really good at networking. A good extrovert goes, you should meet so-and-so because he would be a great fit here, and then you can meet with this person and you guys connect there. Introverts aren't really good at that with people, naturally, as a natural tendency, but they are damn good at it with ideas. Okay? I'm trying to get in the frame, guys. Sorry. Okay? So when it comes to ideas, introverts, oh my gosh, like this is probably my biggest superpower, is they have an ability to connect this idea with this idea and that idea. Like, oh, Steve Jobs did over this, and I see this guy doing this over here, and I have this idea. How can I connect it and make my own unique idea? And that's why introverted entrepreneurs, especially in this industry today, are just, you can see a lot of them. One example of a very famous introvert entrepreneur is Tim Ferriss. I believe he's also an INTJ. Some people have said he's ISTJ, but I think he's an INTJ. You can see what he's done to connect ideas, right? Einstein was an introvert. INTP, I believe it was, if I remember correctly. Okay, so introverts tend to live a lot in their heads, internally, right? But they understand metaphors and concepts and big picture and that theory, just like Einstein did. Tim Ferriss, not Steve Ferriss, I'm sorry. Tim Ferriss. Okay, number 6. Oh my gosh. Now, who resonates with this one? I should probably like sit down at this point. Number 6 is patience and stamina. I don't know. There we go. I'm like doing the splits here. I don't know how many times I've seen an extrovert friend of mine try and figure something out, try and solve a problem where they have to like learn something new or just get their hands dirty, and after 20, 30 minutes they're like, I'm done, I'm bored, I can't do this anymore, figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And introverts are really good at getting in there and just being like, focus. I'm gonna read this book. I remember back in when I first started my business, like 2007, I remember saying, oh, I got to learn how to build websites. I read a 950-page book on Dreamweaver, which is an HTML website builder, and I read it twice. I was that focused and patient, right? So I really see how introverts can take advantage of that, of just putting your head down, saying, I'm gonna go deep with it, I'm gonna learn it, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna get bored easily, right? When it comes to things that are important to us. Who is that? Absent29, thank you for the acknowledgement. I really appreciate that. I lack patience. Well, maybe you're just focusing on things that like would be boring to anybody. You know, I think we have patience on things that are important to us. When is the book coming out? I don't have a book. And then the last thing, oh my gosh, isn't this true? Introverts have attention to detail. And you can define detail any way you want, right? I'm so sorry, I'm like not in the frame. Attention to detail, like yes, like the fine print, but also like for me as an introvert and being an entrepreneur, I pay close attention to things like the intricate systems that go into making my business work and how I can refine them and optimize them and tweak them. I mean, I can take you through an entire Infusionsoft campaign and show how someone comes in, comes out, how they're tagged, added, removed, and I do see a lot of extroverts that are just like, cool, just build me a business, or cool, make me some money, right? And an introvert's like, okay, how do I do every single step flawlessly and execute it? I'm even more sure of my introvertness now. Yeah, so I'm going to bring it back up a little bit. So let me see if I can bring this up too. You guys can see a little bit of it. You guys can't really see them all. I'm so sorry. James said introverts have more perfection tendencies. I agree. Power of concentration. Shoot, the comment went away. At times we're all X's and sometimes Innies depending on time and circumstances. Absolutely. Now that's what I said at the beginning of this, is that I believe, the theory that I prescribe to is that no one is purely 100%, like we have an INFJ in the room. I'm an INTJ, by the way. That no one is purely an introvert and purely an extrovert. And that can be very dangerous to label yourself as such. And that being labeled as an introvert and extrovert really has to do with, you know, you have to go deep into the Myers-Briggs world to really get this, but what your primary function is. So if you were to do a search and learn more about INTJ, which is my personality type, you would find out that my primary function is intuition, and that it is introverted intuition. So that my primary way that I show, INTJ, the primary way that I show up in the world and experience the world is through my ideas and my connection to those ideas. However, stay with me guys, this is huge. My secondary function is thinking, or extroverted thinking. So it always goes opposite. If you're an introvert, first function is introverted, second function is extroverted. So my second function is extroverted thinking. And that really means that I'm someone who likes to talk my ideas out loud. When I'm talking about things that are very cerebral and conceptual, I can be very vocal about that. Okay? But my fourth function is introverted sensing, which means usually anything of the body, the five senses, like touch, feel, stuff like that, is not my strength, which is one reason why I was a nerd in high school and not very good at sports. So very fascinating to really discover this for myself. And the reason why this is so important for me to share this, even though I'm a guy who mostly talks about video marketing for small business owners, is because if I were to go into a time machine today and go back in time to the person that was just such a shy, quiet, insecure, low self-esteem kid, it's a night and day difference for me. And it started first and foremost when I really saw what these strengths were. That I had those strengths. That I could be a good listener and go deep on a topic. And I could have patience. And I could have more focus. I could read more, learn more, and do things that the majority of people out there are extroverts weren't doing. And that became my competitive advantage. So if you look at how I've built my business, I'm not the loudest guy. I'm not the guy trying to say, look at me, everybody, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. It's the classic tortoise and the hare story. And that myself, I was just a tortoise. And I just said, if I just keep going consistently at my pace, nothing can stop me. And those are the parting words I want to leave with you, is to, number one, discover for yourself what strengths really are there for you as an introvert, because you frickin' have them. And that there is a reason why there is a dichotomy of introvert versus extrovert. And sometimes it feels like you're the only introvert in the world because they're so loud and they're so big, and sometimes you can be, so swallowed up by that. But that you really have your own gifts and values to offer people. Thanks, Hillary. Now we've doubled our viewers. Do it again. Do a recap. It is such an excuse, but I'm an introvert. No. It's because I'm an introvert, I can do this, this, and this. I love turtles. Oh, that's great. So, Kathy, thank you for the kind words. It is hot in here, so I keep Sorry, just got in. All right, I'm gonna start over, all from scratch. No, I'll do a quick version recap. Basically, when I tell people that I'm an introvert, people people that know me are like BS, which is very funny. And I like to share people that I've embraced my introvertedness and developed those strengths to get to where I am. And if you're an introvert, if you feel like you're living life on the sidelines, you feel like there's something wrong with you because everyone else is louder, everyone else wants to go out every night, when you just want to why can't I just stay in? Why can't I just be alone tonight? Is there something wrong with me because my friends want to hang out with me and I want to say no? Does that make me a jerk? Does that make me a bad person? And I want to be the first one to say no. Introverts need a lot of alone time, not because of any other reason that we really thrive with our thoughts, with our insight, with our ideas, with our creativity. And we need to cultivate that, not pinch it off. And so I wanted to talk, or I did talk, about the 7 big secret super strengths, or secret weapons, or superpowers that introverts have. We'll go over them really quickly. And I'll just kind of pan the camera down. And we'll do that. There you go. So, introverts are great listeners, okay? Great listeners means great communicators. Great communicators means you can pretty much do anything. That's a good one. That's a nice one to start with. They're very self-aware. They're aware of their surroundings. They're aware of their emotions internally, what's going on with people inside of conversations. They're very observant. Number 3, they're extremely intuitive. They can, you look at any quote by any Eastern religion or philosophy, it's all about going within, right? Introverts know how to do that instinctively, intuitive. They can go within to be with their thoughts, to be in silence, to be present, to meditate. Most introverts can meditate really easily. It's like a natural, oh yeah, I already do that every day, right? Number 4 is they're deep. Now I don't mean deep oh man, that's deep, bro. You're so deep with that. What I mean by that is that they can go deep on a content, while most extroverts will talk about a lot of topics and do just a little depth. they can take one topic and do the gambit. So when I talk about things like YouTube, I don't leave anything out. Like, I go deep on one topic. And hello to all my introverts out there. 5, extroverts are great networkers and connectors of other people. Introverts are great networkers of ideas. They are damn good at connecting ideas. So, well, this guy's doing this, and I have an idea over here, and that's something I saw. Let's bring them together. Okay? Number 6, it is getting hot in here. They have patience. They have stamina. Okay? They can tackle a problem without giving up after 20 minutes. Without saying, this is boring. They don't get bored. They don't get bored. Number 7, they have attention to details. So take off all your clothes. Hillary! Inappropriate. It's getting hot in here.
Do it.
Do it. I double dare you. Alright. You guys are awesome. I needed a break.
I will tell.
Okay. Now get back to work. Alright, any questions before I wrap it up? Thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out with me. Yes, learning to embrace your introvertness. I love it. Whew. Cool. I need some alone time now. Awesome. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for all you people who shared this with your fans and followers. That's it. I ran out of my extrovert juice. Now I've got to go have some alone time. How do you know if you're an I versus an E? You can take a Myers-Briggs test, but there's a lot of indicators. Here's some quick tips for you guys. Hold on. I got a fan here. I'm going to put it on. Hold on. Oh, that's so much better. Oh my gosh. So here's some quick tips to find out if you're an introvert or an extrovert, or if someone you're talking to, someone you're dating, maybe a family member or a friend is an introvert or an extrovert. Okay, extroverts tend to talk more, louder, and more frequently. And I always listen for volume. I think volume of voice is the biggest indicator. If someone has a very soft and gentle voice, like I can project my voice on something like a video, like Periscope, because I've done it for so long. But if you were to find my old videos, if you were to meet me in high school, in college, I was very quiet, very short in my sentences. Like, I'd want to say as little as possible. I am adorable, am I not? Thank you, whoever that was. Appreciate it. Okay, so Americans talk loudly, no offense. No, I don't take any offense. I know a lot of people say that about that. Oh, that's a good link to a personality test. Yeah, so there, James says, my wife charges up in crowds talking to people and I get drained. Now, what you'll also discover is that in a lot of relationships, like romantic relationships, you'll usually be paired with one introvert and one extrovert because there was that initial attraction. Like, everything that this person is not of you is like what they are. Like, oh, like they're all outgoing and loud and they do the talking, so I can just listen. Wow, who is this person, right? And extroverts kind of look at us as like, wow, someone that finally shuts up and doesn't talk the whole time. This is nice. So a lot of times you'll see in relationships that it's one introvert paired with one extrovert, which is a very fascinating thing to look at. So there you go. Yay. Well, that's one way. But okay, now that's interesting, Hillary, because it says, I've been told one way to figure out is if you have a problem, how do you process it? Do you talk it out with someone, or do you do it alone? And the only argument I have to that is what we talked about earlier was that not everyone is a complete introvert and a complete extrovert. So I'm an introvert, but my second function is called extroverted thinking, which means when I can verbally process, I can think out loud to people, and I have things like come out of my mouth that I say, and I'm like, whoa, I just said that. Like, it leaves, I'm like, oh, that sounded really good, right? And so even though I'm an introvert, I actually do that, yeah. So INTJ, Hashtag INTJ. But yeah, I do both as well. What you do is you ask an extrovert, do you like being alone? And usually when they're younger, like high school and college time is a really good indicator of telling them how, because I think people kind of are an extreme when they're younger and they kind of like even out as they get older. But people are like, I can't be alone. Like, well, I have FOMO, fear of missing out, right? You guys ever get FOMO? You're probably an extrovert. Yes, Star, that is very accurate. I've heard that there's not so many women INTJs. So it has been argued that INTJ is the rarest personality type. Some people say INFJ is. We have an INFJ and an INTJ in the room here. INFJ sitting off camera. But a female INTJ is like finding a unicorn. And I've actually met 2 in my life, but that's like a unicorn. All right? Awesome. My husband has FOMO. Yeah, oh, totally rare. Absolutely. I stopped working nights and weekends because I have FOMO. I love that word. Awesome. So looks like we got some INTJs in the room. Let's see. My fiance's in the room. She is an ISFJ, excuse me. So we have some really big complementary functions and temperaments. So we're both introverts. So when she goes, what do you want to do tonight? And I'm like, stay in and watch a movie? And she's like, really? It's like the happiest moment ever, right? But I'm a T, and she's an F, and those just like complement each other so well. I have a little bit more of the left brain, logical, robotic, scientific, masculine side, and she's really big on the creative, emotional, feminine side. So it's a beautiful blend. I guess INTJs do attract other INTJs. I believe they do. I absolutely do. Okay, listen. Now listen what Star is saying. Figuring out the INTJ thing literally changed my life. I so agree with that. So if you guys are still here hanging out, you can just go to Google and type in Myers-Briggs test, and there's one by Humanetrics at the top of Google. It's pretty accurate. The problem is not all Myers-Briggs tests are that accurate because humans are inherently flawed, and we try and fake out the tests. So for example, to be a question like, are you sometimes or frequently late to appointments? And you're like, well, yeah, but I don't want to be, so no, right? And that screws up the test. But the Humanetrics test, you just type in Myers-Briggs test in Google, has been fairly accurate. I got really good at this and was able to speed read people and with like pretty darn good accuracy, because there's a lot of telltale signs that people carry around with them, not just on whether they're introvert or extrovert, but whether they're thinkers or feelers, judges or perceivers, intuitives or sensors. And it's pretty cool because the Myers-Briggs personality type breaks people down into 16 different types. I never want to say that that you fit into a box, anything like that. However, if you can look at what label you have, it really is a great indicator of where your strengths lie, where your pitfalls might be. As an introvert, as an INTJ, some of the pitfalls we have, we hate small talk, okay? My INTJ friends will tell you this right now. We hate it. We hate small talk. It's a waste of our time. So sometimes we can be pretty socially awkward. We don't want to talk about, oh my gosh, the weather, and how have you been with this little blah, 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 blah. Like, we talk about ideas and world domination, and that's about it, right? See, Garner says I hate small talk. Yeah. See, okay. So we can be a little socially awkward. We can come off as really arrogant and like kind of like too brash, and that's not really our intention. We're just awkward, but we have strengths too. Yeah, I don't know if I spelled it right, Lauren. Was that right? Humanetrics? I don't think that's how it's spelled. But pompous, yeah. Hard to be with surface people, yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I definitely do. This is great. So listen, human metrics or something like that. You guys see my basketball hoop behind me? It'd be really cool to end this Periscope. I just... All right, you guys. Well, listen. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for sharing the scope. All that good jazz. I'm gonna take off. I'm gonna call it. It's done. Do it. Adios. Let me say goodbye. I'll say goodbye for a second. A few more people want to say goodbye. See you, Kathy, Lisa, Lawrence. Yeah, it's surfing time. Exactly. Hi, Chelsea. There's my fiance in there. You should do an INTJ scope. I think that's a good idea. Like 7 people will show up. There's 7 INTJs. But I will. Goodbye, Hillary. Thank you for coming.